Jake Gyllenhaal joins me in Studio Q. Hello, sir.
Hello, that was a very moving introduction, I have to say.
Moving?
Yeah, I don't know
You
why.
going to start with sarcasm, or were you actually moved?
That's later. Sarcasm comes later. I have to plant my feet firmly in earnestness at this moment and just say that it's interesting when you hear a bit of what you do for your life described
Yeah.
by someone else. It's just it's cool and very respectful. So I really appreciate it.
Well, it's
So
a lot
thanks.
for a guy in his early 30s. You started early, man.
Yeah, I did. I started early, out of the womb, basically, in one way or another. But
We'll
yeah.
get to that.
Yeah.
I mean, the family, first of all, welcome back to Canada.
Thank you.
And you've spent a fair bit of time in Toronto. I mean, if I didn't know better, I'd think you're just looking for ways to come back here. You like this town.
Yeah,
you like this country.
You
Come
have
on.
to make good movies to come back to Toronto. So I'm trying to make good movies so I can keep coming back.
But you've shot a couple of movies here.
I have, yeah. I've been here quite a lot recently over the past, I think I've been to the film festival, like maybe 3 years in a row, which is pretty cool. And maybe 7 or 8 times altogether.
Is it true that you have an aching desire to be an honorary Canadian?
Yeah. I
That's
wouldn't
the
even
word.
say aching, I would say burning.
You upgrade the aching to a burning.
I got to get this done. You know what I mean?
It sounds more like a disease when it's a burning.
Is that what you Canadians do?
Yes.
I mean, I filmed here, Enemy with Denis Villeneuve. We made Enemy here in Toronto, and even as I was driving in, every time I drive into the city, as I look up and I see all of the now these looming skyscrapers and apartment buildings and all the people living in them, the sort of beauty and haunting sort of. I always think because of the way Denis filmed that movie and filmed Toronto, the sort of darkness of the city I really love
That
too.
was a different look for sure.
Yeah.
When you say when I'm driving in, you mean when I'm sitting in a car being driven by someone in a limo.
No
or
one
something.
should ever let an American drive in Canada. That's so yeah. So that's
Wow.
yeah. No, because yes, I was being driven in. Yeah, this time.
Nightcrawler. You're not only the star, you're also a producer. You liked it so much you bought the company. It's what made you want to get involved with this project to the extent you did?
Well, it was an interesting thing that I had made another film 2 years before in Los Angeles for a very similar budget. I knew that they were going to be making the film for around $7 million. I'd done this movie, End of Watch, which took place in LA for about the same budget. And I had been lucky enough to be an executive producer on End of Watch, and as well as an actor in it. And so we picked up a lot of tricks along the way. And a number of the people making the movie knew that I had, and the producers knew that I had, and I was interested and continue to still be interested in being a part of the whole production, and learning about, every aspect that I can. And because I had sort of little secrets and things I had learned along the way with the first film, it just seemed natural to kind of help in the same way on the production side with this film. And that was that. But I think also it was about learning. My godfather actually shot this film, Robert Elswit. He is my godfather. And there was a lot to be learned on this movie for me. I knew, Tony Gilroy was producing the film, and Dan Gilroy was writing and producing it. And there were a lot of very skilled people, very sort of extraordinary talents making this teeny tiny movie. A lot of the reason because it was in LA, and it was a short schedule, and a lot of people who do all these other movies, bigger movies, who were in high demand, were available. So we got this really amazing crew.
But what captured your imagination? I mean, the story is that you and Dan Gilroy spent 3 months working on the character of Lou Bloom. What was it you really wanted to capture with this character?
I think that there was, for me, when I read the script, there was a lot about Los Angeles, but particularly about sort of the topography of Los Angeles was fascinating, even written in the screenplay. And the idea that at night, these creatures come out, these specifically, literally, the creatures of the animal kingdom in Los Angeles are coyotes and other, other animals, but really specifically coyotes. And if you live in Los Angeles, and I happen to have grown up there, they're all over the place looking like they're starving, looking hungry, and looking like they're going to literally eat you when they stare you down. They're fearless, they're fearless creatures. And And there was something about the nature of this character that was very much like that, and sort of somehow brought together this natural animal world and then this metropolis of Los Angeles in a way that I had never read before, and I don't think had been done before. And it wasn't like you're cutting away to shots of coyotes. You're literally watching the personification of a coyote, and that was fascinating to me. And that meant to me an exploration of a side of myself, and physically and also mentally, that I had never really done before.
But this dude, he's a loner. He's kind of socially awkward. He's a thief. I mean, his moral judgment is certainly in question at times, his ethics, and yet he also is prone to spouting poetry. He seems extremely intelligent at times. He's an interesting, complex character.
Oh my, yeah. I mean, he's one of my favorite characters I've ever played. I mean, the things that he says are completely outlandish at times. Like, they are hilarious. This movie is, to me, at times hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people have talked to me about how they think it's creepy or all this. There are many times along
You're
the way.
creepy. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
general.
not just.
Am I creeping you out right now?
No, you're not ready.
You brought me into this windowless lair. I mean, you should be the one. And I'm not creeped out. So maybe I am creepy. So I should.
In the film, you're creepy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a creepy dude.
Yeah.
And you've lost all this weight and the greasy hair and stuff. I mean, you're not surprised that some people think it's creepy, right?
No. I think I look at it as a metaphor in a lot of ways. And the way I look at it is obviously going to be very different from the way an audience is going to look at it. I consider this movie to be about the birth of an artist. I think.
Do you really?
Well, objectively speaking, I don't. He does things that I think are morally abhorrent. But I think that as, in approaching the character, that's how I looked at it. I thought, this is the birth of a cinematographer. He has to do things to make his images beautiful. He has to tell a story.
Yes.
And
we see that education happening.
Yes.
But you, for research purposes, it's true that you rode along with real paparazzi ambulance chasers?
With stringers, yeah, with the guys who do this, yeah.
And what did you learn from that experience? I mean, you've been on the other side of it, right?
That I'm creepier than I thought I was. No, I learned that, I had been on the other side of it because I had done a lot of research playing police officers, and I had spent 3 or 4 months on the streets with police officers researching End of Watch.
You've also been on the other side of it as a guy whose photo gets taken by paparazzi.
Oh, like
and
that.
chased around.
Oh,
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I mean, I think the situations here in this movie and the situations that these guys deal with are real life situations. I mean, we're not talking about
crimes and deaths.
crimes and deaths and accidents and people on really what they're looking for is people on the edge of life and death. I mean, that is, the things that I deal with are pittance. They're nothing, compared to that. So it's not really the same thing. In fact, there's something, the sort of, I think the perversity of this character and what he does, it's there's this video we watched a lot of videos of the guys who do this stuff that wasn't used, just stock footage basically. And one of the videos was a car on the fast lane of the freeway, and it was stopped, and he's just filming it from the other side of the freeway, waiting for the car to get hit. And you can hear him talk. Oh, I think it should be any moment. I mean, I can't see that guy trying to pull up. And sure enough, 30 seconds later, the car is slammed at like 65 miles an hour by another car.
Wow.
And that it's the moral issue here in this movie is where this character lies. And between there, like, when do you call out? Do you say stop?
Well,
Or do you film
these
it?
are people who get to a scene, an accident or something gory or something difficult, well before at times the police do, and shoot it, and then sell it to news organizations for it to be used.
Yeah, they're listening to scanners, police scanners, and fire department scanners all the time. If they get the call at the same time, sometimes the fire department does. Or
It's
the police
hard not to read this or come out of the film feeling like this is another dark, manifestation of our accelerated culture, and the film story touches on bigger themes: privacy, voyeurism, the merging of mainstream news and tabloid journalism. What do you think all of that says about the nature of our contemporary culture? Was that something that you wanted to be discussing?
I don't know. To me, it's a success story. To me, it's a story about a guy who is part of a generation that is told success at any cost, in a way. I mean, how much do we value what we consider a certain type of success? And I'm talking about financial success, or, you know, uh, attention, or, whatever that might be. What is certain values? And it's a guy who succeeds in getting all of those things. So to me, it's a success story more than it is a comment on where we are, though it is, I think, a pretty subversive movie, in the sense that there are people out there, and particularly a generation of people, who are looking for jobs still. And I think that the idea of a job has completely mutated. I was talking with somebody yesterday or today about how it's not an article anymore. It's a post, like someone said to me, "Oh, I wasn't an article. That was a post." I'm like, what? So then what are you? Are you a writer, or are you a poster, or what are you? You know what I mean? And that's just sort of a small piece of it. I think what a job is, these guys, they're making a lot of money. This stuff that this Lou Bloom, the character that I play in the movie, he makes a lot of money off of this stuff. Now, this is an area that no one would ever think a job was, nor would he until he finds it.
There is something industrious about it, but
Yeah.
but the ethics of it are really. I mean, at one point he throws. I mean, almost literally throws his partner under the bus, and shoots it. Spoiler alert! And to make money. I'm curious about You seem like a pretty ambitious guy. No one does as much as you've done this without being an ambitious guy. Does Jake Gyllenhaal relate at all to the notion of success at any cost? Was that drilled into you at some point?
I don't know consciously speaking, no. I mean, no. And I think what I value as success as I get older is a lot different than what it was when I was a lot younger,
What's the difference?
Well, I think an immature view of success, which I probably can be still guilty of, is all of the things that, you get the things you sort of dream of, money and, more work, and the work that you wanted, all of those things. And I think I now value success as a much different thing. I think I value it as, when I see my friends with their beautiful children, or in a working relationship of any kind, and all those things, to me, that's real success. So, I think that, when I have a great day with my family, or a great day with my nieces, or whatever, that's a successful day. I could come to the Toronto Film Festival and people could really love a film that I'm in, and that's successful, but it's not necessarily how I would now judge success, of a certain kind. And
is that because you sowed your oats? I mean, is it really? Is it like, did you want Entourage at some point and then you got it and you've, I don't know.
I don't know about that. I think I just credit to my parents, and, hopefully values that they instilled, and, that to me, first and foremost, was always about what I was always taught as a kid, was to try and listen to myself, and to trust certain instincts, to listen to people around me, and to use those instincts to try and guide me, and I think, you're on course, you're off course, you move around, you're all different, you try this path, you try that path, whatever it is. But I think I've just become much clearer about, my instinct, and particularly my initial instincts. I'm not talking about like, oh, that person seems like a night. I'm talking about the instinct when we talk about reading this script for this movie, and I all of a sudden thought, this guy's a coyote. It came to my mind, and I thought, he needs to be hungry. Happened like that.
What was the initial instinct? I mean, I want to come back to the film, but just to go back a little bit. You started at the age of 10.
Yeah.
What was the allure of acting at that point for you? How did you know at that stage that this was something that, or was it just something for fun?
Um, I think there was at 10 years old. Like, I mean, I know you're talking professionally, but I
You were in
think,
City Slickers.
yeah, I mean, I worked a few days on that movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that was extraordinary and so exciting. And I remember being thrilled, and my mind was blown as a kid, working on that movie with those people, and just seeing the process of making movies. It was, I remember that as an extraordinary moment. There are moments, images and things from that, and you know, that I will never, ever, ever forget. That stay in my mind to this day. But I mean, I think it was that it was great fun,
Hmm.
and I felt really free. I mean, when I think about being that age, and I think about what it could take me now to 33 years old, and over those 23 years, what was it? What it ultimately is was that when it's great, when something is alive and present, and I like carry in my pocket that, that T.S. Eliot poem, but starts off with quick now, here now, always, you know, um, that the present moment when you're in it, when you're acting or when you're playing really, and you're, doing a voice or you're joking. I mean, we were just joking in the car before I was coming over here, and I was like doing like voices and stuff like that and just joking, and everyone was laughing and stuff. And it was like, there was a moment, there was a presence to that just was great joy in me. Like it wasn't
And then it was
about,
all downhill as soon as you got
yeah, then
here.
I got here, and then I'm in this weird red room with
the
you,
lair,
and
yes.
you're in the lair, and you're calling me a creep. You know what I mean? But
I
besides
said
that,
you were creepy.
yeah,
I did not say you're a
oh,
creepy.
oh, okay. Jewish is what you're saying. I know. I am.
Wow.
I'm Jewish. I am Jewish. Yes.
When did you know this was the thing you wanted to do? I mean, you come from this industry family. Your mom's a screenwriter. Your dad is a film and TV director. Your sister, of course, your older sister, the great actor Maggie. My dad's an engineer, and probably on some level, besides the fact that I wanted to subvert the Persian expectations, I probably didn't want to be an engineer because my dad's an engineer.
Yeah, but you're around engineers all day.
That's
But
that's
not a
that's not untrue.
same maybe kind of
Yeah,
engineer.
it's not
but you're
untrue.
definitely,
But I mean,
yeah.
was it a blessing or a curse to come from that family and go into this profession?
Neither. I mean, it was. It is. Um, it's a real. It's a really interesting thing because, to me, I really don't know. I don't know it any other way. You know what I mean? It's not like so. But I also explore different people's jobs and the work that I do all the time. But I think for me and my family, it has always been, strangely, it's hard to say because everybody's obviously doing it. So, but it's always been really about family, like, so my mom has written many screenplays about family, and I know that it's the most important thing to her, that she would gladly give up anything for her family, and I think that she's put that in my sister and I, and that's it, and my father too. I mean, I think that our work is secondary to my family, and I know my sister feels that way about her primary family, and then about us, and so that's what it is to me. At the same time, I think I have these huge this wealth of knowledge from these two people who have been in the film industry for a long time, which are my parents, which has been very helpful. And then there are times where, my mother and I will talk, and I'll be like, okay, let's not talk about movies anymore, and we don't, my sister and I don't at all. We don't at all, though I do have to say, if anybody hasn't seen The Honorable Woman, which is a television show that my sister did, you should go see it because she's pretty extraordinary, and the television show is
But to
extraordinary.
get her in here to talk about it because she is extraordinary.
She is.
That's weird. You never
I
talk
only
about
I only plug my sister's work. I don't talk to her about it.
right. You guys literally don't talk about your gigs. You don't go.
Not really. No, there's not. I mean, when I'm with.
You say good job, Maggie. You tell her you
Well,
like.
yeah. I mean, I watch her work, of
Right.
course, and I'm like, and my brother-in-law, who's an actor as well, and I admire them, deeply. I mean, she's my older sister, so I really, I really admire her. That's just inevitable. That's just the order of things. It's just unfortunately how it happens. No matter
You're
how
really
hard I
ruining
try,
things
I
for my
just
older
have
sister
to,
and I.
to admire her.
If that's the natural order of things.
I know you
She's
admire
listening.
her somewhere.
Of course I do.
She's like, you creep.
You were talking to the creepy guy, and he said, let me come back to Nightcrawler. I know I can't keep you here forever, although it's a great pleasure talking to you. And I had a sense it would be, and it really is. This move into so the narrative with Jake Gyllenhaal is he did these big movies, and recently he's been doing darker stuff, if not art house, more interesting, alternative, darker things. And you've said you find some sort of honesty in darker things that is appealing to you. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
What does it mean?
I think that I find not more. I just find that in order to be honest, you have to acknowledge darker things as well, as well as the light, But I think that, and so to me, the exploration of the past few movies I've done and in general, the things that move me is I'm not afraid of going into a world like the world with Nightcrawler. I think that it's enlightening. I mean, that might be ironic to use that word, but that's how I feel. I learned more about myself, about a world, about the world, and than I have in many movies that I've done. And it's one of the darker movies that I've made. And so that to me, that's great light, And I'm not saying that I couldn't learn equal as much if it was like fun, easy, whatever.
Rom-com?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but I think those are difficult as well. I mean, and when I say difficult, I don't mean it in the normal sense. I mean it in the movie sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I should probably make a distinction there. It's just that, I find that in those areas you can learn a lot about yourself and you can learn a lot about other people.
Do you care about the business end of things when you pick gigs now, in terms of this, what seems to be a highly curatorial approach to what you do? Does it matter if your agent goes, hey man, you really should do this role in Iron Man because it's going to be big business for you?
If my agent did that, we wouldn't be working together.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that it's to me, we're talking about, I can't, I mean, I'm incredibly blessed, in the work that I do in terms of that kind of stuff. I mean, that's just not the discussion that I want to be having. That's just at this point in my life, I believe that I want to stay true to a certain instinct. Now that instinct changes at times, and it will change over the course of, hopefully I get to work more, and hopefully, I'll be making different choices and I might come in here 2 years from now and have a different approach. Mm-hmm. But I do know that it should always be about something that's coming from something I believe in, because that's all that I can bring. It's really all that I can bring, and it's going to satisfy some people and it's not going to be others, just as things other people do satisfy me and some people don't, But if we have that discussion, to me, I just, it's not one I necessarily want to have.
Mike Leigh was on this show last week, the great British director.
I love Mike Leigh. We were on the Berlin Film Festival jury together. He was the...
Wow.
Yeah.
He said there's Hollywood, there's this little thing, and then there's the rest of us making movies.
Well, when I was on the jury with all of them, they were always like, "Oh, Hollywood over there gets,"
They called you Hollywood.
Oh yeah, I was just, I couldn't do anything about it. I was just had a stamp on my forehead,
And does it, I mean, he was intimating, he wouldn't go so far, he's too elegant to sort of, you know, say something really horrible about Hollywood, but he was sort of intimating that, look, that's not what, you know, there's a bunch of us who really don't care about that world necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Do you relate to that?
No. I understand maybe what he was intimating, but I also feel like, um, you know, it's like, there's no hierarchy. There's nothing in art, you know what I mean? And everybody expresses themselves in all different ways. And it's all about types of expression that people want to put out there, you know? So I don't believe that at all. I I just think it's about, again, like keep coming back to it being
But
closer.
there is a difference between the art of a big action film intended to, you know, that costs $200 million and hopes to reap at least that back versus a film that is something more like Nightcrawler, something
Yeah.
is not going to necessarily
Yeah.
intentionally appeal to the biggest audience possible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but I would say that it's movies like the larger scale movies, big, huge movies that keep, you know, theaters alive, that keep people going to the movies in a way, and keep people going to see movies like Nightcrawler. So they work in tandem, you know. I mean, I think that one doesn't work without the other, you know, and I've learned that in terms of my, you know, explorations in different size films and all different things, and I see that we all work together, that, you know, entertainment and movies, it is just entertainment, but it is also, I think, because I think it's very important to me. And and there should be all forms of expression, large size, many people seeing, few people seeing, whatever they are. Again, I know I keep coming back to this, but as long as it moves people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that, given the world that we're in, things going on in it, you know, I would say thank God for Mike Lee and thank God for $150 million movies, you know, because there we can go into the dark and we can explore a different world and we can be moved by all of it.
It's a great pleasure having you here. Last question. I mean, we've learned a lot. We know you care mostly about material success. You only want to make blockbusters.
And I'm a creep.
You hate Mike Lee. Yeah. You're 33.
Yeah.
Do you
I am.
seem like a pretty aren't you?
I don't know.
I think you said that earlier.
Yeah, I'm 33.
That's why I'm
No,
going
I
with
am.
it. Yeah.
I'm 33.
All right, jeez. And you seem like a pretty introspective guy. Do you have a sense of, if you were to say where you are on your journey on this path,
Oh no.
what would you say? Why is this oh no? What are you looking? This is the first time you've
where
looked at your
I know, I
your
just looked
crew
over
all of a
through
sudden.
the-
Yeah.
Help me.
Where's
where
my
am I?
driver?
Where-
Get
I
me
was just
back
trying
in
to
the
figure out
car.
where I am. That's all. I was just looking and trying to get perspective.
What happened? You were so focused.
Where am I on my journey? Of
You think about stuff like that. I know you do.
course I do, man. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, you know, when you wake up in the night and the fear is so real, you know? That was a Bruce Springsteen quote. I didn't say it. I'm just quoting Bruce Springsteen. You know, I think, you know, there are all of those, well, where am I on the path? Jeez, man. Just coming to CBC and I have to
What you
give
got?
you my...
What you got?
I know, man.
What's the chapter? What chapter are we in?
You can cut all this out, right? All the
No.
ums and the buts and all that
this is
stuff. You
very-
can just cut it all
It's very
out,
telling.
right? This
I've
is,
stumped Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, you stumped me.
You had all the answers a moment
I
ago.
don't know. I feel really, I feel really grateful for you know, what am I? Like I said, we've reiterated a million times. I'm 33 years old. I've been working for close to like 18, 19, what is it? Almost over 20 years or something like that. That's crazy. And I just feel like there's so many people who are so talented and there's so many people who do their job so well. And I honestly, with fear of ending this in the earnest way I started it, I really actually just feel blessed to be amongst a group of people doing what I do and to continue to do it. That's really, really where I am. And that's it. Yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful answer.
But that's,
You
I don't know
got
the
there.
chapter title, you know
Well,
what I
you
mean? But
didn't-
I know
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like, you know,
You
that's
didn't really
close to
answer
where-
it, but you got
Jake,
there.
yeah,
It says some-
chapter 5, creep. You know what I mean? It's like
Stop it. I was
creepy
referring
Jake.
to the
Chapter
film.
chapter 5, creepy Jake. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You got to go. Your people are saying.
Yeah, they're like,
desperate to pull
that
you
was
out now.
just a get out.
Things were
It
going,
was going so well. Yeah.
What a pleasure.
Really,
Thank you. Congrats
so-
on the film.
Thank you so much.
Do
Thank
come
you
back.
for having me.
Yeah, man.
I really appreciate it.